Hello, everyone. Greetings from New York. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to day 2 of the Solutions for Youth Employment S4YE's Innovation Exchange and Partner Summit 2023. My name is Shakuntala Santharan, Shax for short. Let me begin by giving you a quick recap of some of the highlights of day 1. We heard from industry experts about how they see generative AI impacting the future of work, the skills and employment roles that will be in demand going forward, how young workers can adapt to these changes. Some illuminating brand new data was shared. From our panel of private sector industry leaders and policymakers, we heard about innovative and proactive ways that generative AI can be used to help skill and create jobs for young people. And we heard the key findings of S4YE's groundbreaking report on the online gig economy, which is very much on the rise. We also heard from inspiring youth leaders who shared how they became social entrepreneurs, helping address challenges in their communities. All those sessions will be available online after the summit. Today, we kick off with a fantastic session on how generative AI is transforming the creative economy. That includes film production, art, the fashion world, music, for example. World Bank data shows that young people make up a significant part of the creative economy. In Pakistan, for instance, nearly 1/3 of people in creative and cultural jobs are under 24 years old. In Ghana and Uganda, over 25% of people in creative jobs are youth. In the session, we'll get to check out creative applications of generative AI and hear from the people behind them. If you have any questions or comments for our speakers, you can send them to us using Slido, which is on the right of your screen. We'll try and get to them if possible at the end of the session, and if not, our team will do their best to respond to them after the session. Right, to kick things off, I am pleased to welcome Sabine Becker, head of the Global Project for Culture and Creative Industries at GIZ, which is Germany's Sustainable Development Agency. GIZ is on S4YE's board. Sabine joins us from Berlin, Germany. Over to you, Sabine.
Thank you, Shax, very much for the introduction and for the opportunity to say a few words. I want to say what we do in the global project, Culture and Creative Industries. We work together with the Goethe Institute, the German Cultural Institute, and we are financed by the Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ. And the idea is to work together in selected partner countries, in 6 partner countries: Senegal, South Africa, Kenya, Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq, to support the employment and income dimension of the culture and creative industries. And one of the reasons is that it, yes, is a growing sector in many countries, but that also the potential is not always used to its full extent. And what I personally find very interesting is, yes, you have a lot of direct effects, like direct jobs and so on, but you also have a lot of indirect effects, like innovation in all kinds of, also the economy. So together with the Solutions for Youth Employment, we've been able to start the Creative Economy Alliance for Diversity and Youth, it's called. And it's meant to be a multi-partnership with all organizations that work on culture and creative industries. And at this point in time, there's UNESCO part of it, UNCTAD, ITC, but also Games of Change in South Africa, and Policy and Evidence Center on Culture and Creative Industries in the UK. So a growing group of partners, and all of them work on, how can we support that sector. And there is this knowledge repository which has been opened, and that's where you already find lots of interesting analysis from all these organizations a lot of interesting concepts on how to promote. So very useful and growing body of knowledge. And I'm sure that we'll later on share the link. The Creative Economy Alliance has already had a few sessions like this one. One was on trade and women in the fashion industry together with ITC She Trades. Another one was on gender equality, especially in the CCI sector. And now this one on artificial intelligence and the creative economy. So yeah, I think, I mean, from the introductory words you said, it's very interesting now to see in this sector what are the potentials, but what are also the risks, and what can we do to make it, you know, as positive as possible for people in the creative industries. So I'm very interested to now listen to the colleagues here, and thanks back to you, Jacques.
Thank you very much, Sabine, for giving us that context for today's session and for sharing with us some of the vital work that the Alliance is doing to enhance youth employment in the creative economy. So, right, let's dive in now. First up, we are all going to create a joint generative AI artscape. To take part, all you have to do is think of something that's inspired you during the summit so far, something inspirational that you've heard on youth innovation. Then just send us your thought via Slido. Again, that's on the right of your screen, and we'll reveal the artscape at the end of the session. That artscape is being created with a generative AI tool called the Dream Machine that Thomas Haferlach created. He also joins us from Berlin. Welcome, Thomas. So you studied computer science and AI at university, and you've worked at music tech companies. You created the Dream Machine, among other things, right, to do with generative AI. Please tell us briefly about your personal journey and what inspired you to combine generative AI with music and art.
Yes, thank you for the introduction. I studied artificial intelligence and computer science more or less 20 years ago, and worked in both like big tech companies, but then found myself kind of like a bit frustrated with this world, and then I moved to Brazil and was active as a kind of artist, a multimedia artist, for many years, doing also organizing events that kind of marry, let's say, tech and art and music. But yeah, using AI and machine learning and tech more in a kind of creative way. And yeah, since about 5 years now, I've been kind of fully into generative AI models, so working in different music companies and also founding my own company, all around creating media with artificial intelligence, especially since the kind of capabilities have increased a lot in recent times. We've seen a kind of explosion in creative possibilities.
So, on that subject of creative possibilities, how about showing us how you combine generative AI and music creation? There's a concept here called audio modeling, right? What is that and how does it work?
Yeah, so I mean, I think something one is more familiar with these days is the image generation. So we've seen companies train very large AI models on data sets of basically billions of images scraped from the internet, and so these models, they learn to create new images, and you can control them with text. So you can kind of give them a text prompt, and they will make an image for you. And this has, of course, created a lot of discussion also amongst artists. How far is it fair? How far is it kind of potentially changing the landscape of like employment? But going back to audio. so the same techniques that you use to kind of learn from data to create images, you can also apply in the audio domain. We're not quite at the quality yet, so it's like sounding maybe depends what techniques you use. You can imagine it like an FM a radio station that's slightly out of tune, but it's definitely improving day by day, and kind of certain things such as kind of generating voices in the style of your favorite artist, for example, having something being sung to you. These things are, yeah, they've been getting better and better, and also throwing open a lot of questions.
About copyright issues, right?
Yeah.
Among them. Can you give us a demo, please, Thomas, about how this works so our viewers can get a taste of what it's like to be using generative AI to do this?
Yes, I'm going to just share my screen. I was, I, I'm gonna, yeah, I'll just share my whole screen, and I need to select audio. Oh my God. Yes, there it is. Um, okay, so um, I'm gonna just so I'm gonna start by using ChatGPT. So I guess many people are already aware of ChatGPT. It's kind of a phenomenon at the moment. So the idea is that we want to create a rap song connected to the topic of this event, and in order to come up with the lyrics, we can use ChatGPT to help us write these lyrics. So what I do is I give ChatGPT a description of in this case, of the event, about generative AI, about young creatives, about what I want ChatGPT to do, and I then give him quite concrete instructions how to write, him or her, I don't know what. I guess I give quite concrete instructions what kind of lyrics I want ChatGPT to generate. So now I'm gonna do this. There was just an outage of ChatGPT when I tested it before, so we may have to jump to ones I generated before. It's slightly out of my control. Let's try. So basically, I'm giving it a prompt to write lyrics for me. Um, and
Looks
of
like it
course,
is online. Is it online or?
this is online, yes. But I have a feeling we don't have that much time. I will just jump to ones that I generated before, but you get the
Idea,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're having it's so popular there that they're having some scaling difficulties. So it's not ChatGPT is not always available, but I guess that's part of it. So
That points to some of the challenges, right, that are still being ironed out now.
totally, it's very new young technology. So um, so then here so here's an example rap. It's ChatGPT generated. Let's take this one. Beats and bytes, we're composing the change, generative rhythms, ain't it strange? Well, bang to the block, we invest in young minds. Okay, let's just take it. This is the first one I tried. Yeah, you'd usually do a couple of passes refining what you want ChatGPT to
How do you
like
refine
refining the
it? How
topic.
would you refine that? Do you adjust the input question or what would you
Yeah.
do?
Exactly. So you usually follow up. So ChatGPT has a sense of history. So you can usually quite well refine it by just giving it follow up prompts. So for example, you could say this sounds too much like a marketing rap to me. Please make it more creative or something. You would follow it. Okay, but now I'm gonna jump to the rap generation. So here I can select the background beat. So let's just take um, let's just take this first one. Now I can. So this is one of many websites that offer these kind of possibilities. I will try and share some links with everyone later, but there's different kind of AI rap music generators. You can also just Google them, and you usually pay by usage. So you pay a few cents per. So I just paste generated rap in here, and then I create generate lyric. Ah, no, sorry, that was wrong. I want to use custom lyrics because I generated them. Now I can choose the rapper.
Trades in my pocket. Believe in your journey, let no one change your course.
Stop posting about it.
Each word's a paint stroke on the canvas.
So I will choose relic. Then we click generate rap. And here, this was fast. So now we can already listen to it.
Beats and bytes, we're composing the change. Generative rhythm, ain't it strange? World Bank to the block, we invest in your minds, putting skills to the test.
So you get it. Actually, it didn't add any music underneath, but if we have time, I would also generate the beat. Are we good with time or?
Well, I want to actually ask you a few more questions that
Okay, yeah.
would be helpful to our audience, but you've given us a good idea of the possibilities, right, of using generative AI, and you're going to share those links, like you said, later on. What do you think are the skills that young people need to acquire, to learn, to be able to do well in this space?
Let me just stop sharing or no, whatever. Yeah, so it's a very interesting question. The space is changing so quickly that it's very difficult to make exact predictions, but I think there's definitely a huge potential in using these AI tools to kind of expand one's capabilities, expand what one can do. So I think it makes a lot of sense to experiment with these technologies and to be as flexible as possible, to, let's say, be open to adopt new techniques, because they are coming, and they will change the way we create quite profoundly. I'm not saying it's gonna change everything, but I think yeah, being flexible, and also there's a lot of very interesting kind of open source tools out there that are almost free to use. So yeah, just playing with them, trying out ChatGPT. ChatGPT can now generate images too, creating artworks. So yeah, I think that would be my answer.
So this allows you to do what you couldn't do before. You were telling me that when we first spoke a while before our conversation. Presumably, this has changed for you, your business, and how you, yeah, how has it helped you in a way that with what you couldn't do before?
Yeah, I mean, it just like an example maybe from more the like art side is that like I used to organize a lot of events, let's say, that involve artists, that involve music, and usually we didn't have a big budget. They were not like very commercial events, and with the help of generative AI tools, I could now make a very attractive artwork for the event. I would get help writing the kind of the release text, and these days you need to promote something, whatever it is. Is it your song as a musician? Is it your blog post you wrote? For social media, you need images, you need different types of media, and different types of media for different platforms. So concretely, you can kind of do things like create artworks, create media that you use to promote your art on social media or your work. So these are things where I wouldn't have had the budget to pay someone to do it. So it's basically just a plus in this sense.
Okay, and in the end, very quickly, the human input is still vital, isn't it? Especially for creative work, because there are a lot of concerns that generative AI could take over jobs.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so I don't want to also be the techno optimist, like, and say that everything is totally fine. So like definitely like um I see it as a slight problem that companies are profiting from AI models that are trained on output of artists, and the artists don't get any form of return for that. So there's the things that where I think regulation could help a lot. Um, but incorporating these tools into your creative flow, I think, is key. And I think also trying to let go of stereotypes of what is AI art and what's not is good. And you're not usually just typing something and getting your results. So you're usually doing more of an iterative process where you type something, you refine it, and then you import it into your photo editing program, then you change something else. So it's usually a process where it's more of a co-creation than a replacement. So a good designer will be able to apply their skills with these new technologies, I would say.
Brilliant. Thank you so very much, Thomas, for sharing your ideas, your experience with us. And next, joining us from Nairobi, Kenya, is Malik Afebua. He is a filmmaker, artist, and designer. His Elder series using generative AI has gone viral. Welcome, Malik. Thank you for joining us. So you use generative AI to create your Elder series. The images are really cool, trendy, older people wearing really fashionable clothes, walking down a runway. What inspired you to use generative AI to do this?
Well, I always say that I'm a storyteller, and that being said, regardless of what means I'm telling that story, doesn't really matter for me as long as I could tell that story. And my background is in film and production, and I'm a visual artist as well. So I'm always looking for the next technology or the next way to augment or make my work a lot better than it used to be. And that's technology for me. So I was already at the forefront of using AI because I've been experimenting with it for like the past 2 years, from virtual reality to augmented reality. And now it was being AI. And when a personal issue happened to me, because when I'm stressed out from my regular job, I use art to distress, but mostly for me, not for the world. But this time I had a personal situation where my mom had a heart attack and I didn't really know how to deal with it, so I just turned back to the art, and that was me creating her memories or creating her in a different space. And that turned out to be something else, because when I started to create that, I realized that was helping me go through it. Then I decided to share it with the world, because I didn't know how to express myself any other means but to create something entirely new. Because I was just thinking about her memories, thinking about a happy place or how she used to be, but I didn't know how to represent that. And AI was a go-to tool for me because I could create nothing, something out of nothing, and that was it. And it turned out that when I first started to create these things, it was more of generic images. It was more of very biased images, I must say. So I literally had to train it, with my own pictures and data and all of that to get the actual result that I got. But it came from a personal standpoint, but it's grown, to many conversations and many things after that. Yeah.
You talked about bias. We're going to discuss that shortly, but I'm sorry about your mother. So you used this generative AI, and this vision actually came to life, didn't it, Malik? With real people wearing your clothes on the runway. How did that happen?
So I've like I said, it sparked many different conversations from many different countries, organizations, and that. And this was part of the conversations I had. I had got offered to do a fashion show in Amsterdam using real models and to bring all the clothing that I created with AI to life, which is what we did. So everything you see on the runway is actually stuff that were created from that co-creation software that I use. And he said it just correctly, is more of a co-creation thing. And I think it was amazing to see it come full circle, and it was amazing to see the possibilities of going from a digital space into a physical space and even turning that into something that is viable, for employment or for capital raising and all of that. So, yeah, and now we have even more fashion shows coming up in many different countries as well. That's so excited to do.
Yeah, that was in the Netherlands, that show that we saw, and more are planned, I think, in Nigeria and Brazil, right? And people are buying your images. They're really beautiful, very vivid and lifelike. And also those actual clothes to wear. So your brainchild, this venture into generative AI, is helping your business, isn't it, Malik?
It is in a very good way actually. And I understand the business side of the work that I do, and so that I like to bring in this software to make it even better and get unique results. So, for instance, I've done some work for the likes of Marvel Studios and Cadbury, but I wouldn't use the generic things that I get from the software. I have to train it to get specific result because of the fact that if I do something that is not unique, anyone can do it. I'm just going to create it. So I use it specifically to get specific results. And that could be in a sense that it could be a start off or an end. You know, it doesn't have to be the entire thing that I use to create it. So it's made my work faster. It's made my work better. Made my money. Get more reach and more companies that reaching out to me to do certain things from them. In the past, in my filmmaking world, I have to write proposals to big corporations, but now they're reaching out to me to do certain things for them. So I saw the change, and that said a lot to me that, technology is always the way, whether you like it or not. There's going to be a good side, a bad side to it. But if you focus on the solution based side to it, it's going to, you go far with that. So that's what I've done.
And your Elder series has been praised for challenging traditional ideas of beauty and aging. And one of the ethical concerns of generative AI is the potential for bias and discrimination. You mentioned bias just
Yeah.
now. What role do you think you play as a creative artist, a creator, in removing biases from AI?
So it's part of shaping the narrative and controlling the narrative. And the bias do not just come from AI. It's been around since stock imagery, since representation. So I know about that because for many years ago, I'll try and find people of color doing certain things, but it's always generic. The culture is always generic, is always stereotyped. And now it's shifted into the AI softwares. If you type certain keywords, you will always get a certain kind of result. And that was underrepresented for me. So I literally had to in my little space, train it the best that I can. And this is what our culture is. This is what that looks like. And I can't do it alone. So that's why I have many talks around, many other places saying we as creators need to be part of that movement of actually shaping the right narrative. The types of data we put online, the types of things that we put out there actually does matter because it's fed off. And when this AI software is fed up all these things, that's all it knows is trained on this. Just imagine 10 years from now, and we have the same misrepresentation. So we have to be part of the people to either be the makers or to shape it properly and change the narrative. So that's what I'm doing. And I've always told people that, okay, you have to do this as well. Regardless of what field you're in, you need to find a way to understand where you stand and do something about it.
Yeah, because generative AI is trained on, like you said, large, vast amounts of data, and it's learning patterns from this data. So the kind of data that it's being inputted is vital, right? And Mike, how did you learn this technology, and how do you keep yourself up to speed with all these rapid changes?
Oh, well, first of all, my background is in business. I studied business in school at the University of Surrey. So I didn't even do nothing about technology. So everything that I've done from the filmmaking side to the tech side, I taught myself. And that is because when I moved back from London to Nigeria, I was in a country where it's not so enabled. You have to enable yourself. You have to do things, within your space to move forward, or you just be stuck in a certain space. So I didn't want to be stuck. I wanted to find ways to create value, for my community, for myself, for my family, and all of that. So I knew for a fact that I needed to upskill myself, learn new skill. Think about 5 years from now. How will communication be? How would expression be 5 years from now? So I've always been in that space. So whenever I'm testing new technology, I'm always years before other people because I've been researching about it. So I've done many studies, many courses, many things about things that don't even matter right now, but I know it will matter in the future. So I've been in that space of learning and upgrading myself in it. So I've experimented with many technologies. I even employ people to do certain jobs for me just to learn from them. For instance, so that's what I do. And I train right now. I train a lot because I understand that this new technology, there's a facade to it, there's a buzz to it. But if we could get lost in that buzz and not understand that there's a solution side to it as well, there's a money making side to it, there's a nation building side to it as well. So that's what I'm focused on. So when I train on new technology or new skills, I pass that on as well. Because for me, it's more of curiosity and more of finding ways not to be left behind in the future. But for other people is, add this to your skill. Maybe it will help you. And if it helps you, you can start adding more, things to it. So there's always been books. YouTube is a great resource for me. I'm not even going to lie. There are many videos on YouTube that I watch, but mostly books, courses, keynotes, forums that I just read about a lot of things when it comes to what solution can be done for that industry and how can it be done. What's the best way to do it? And I find, learn about that. And if it resonates with me, I adopt it. If not, I could just have that knowledge anyway. So it's more just updating myself with what's next is what I do.
Have you any quick further advice for young people interested in working in this space?
I would say definitely experiment, definitely make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to understand this new growing technology, because don't write it off and say, oh, it's stealing jobs or it's unethical. There's always a good and a bad side to it. What part do you play in that space? So experiment, understand, do your research and find ways to use that for your good. That's what I say.
Thank you very much, Malik, for sharing your experience and insights with us. I learned a lot listening to you as well. Now we are joined by Alex Wills, who is Chief Experience Officer for the platform Disguise. Hello, Alex. Welcome. So, Chief Experience Officer, it's a really neat sounding job. So, what is Disguise? What does it do?
Hi, it's great to be here. We at Disguise are the leading platform at the heart of this incredible era of visual experiences. So if you've been to a major concert like Taylor Swift or Beyonce, or the amazing U2 show at the Sphere in Las Vegas, if you are on a film set and you see some virtual production being done on an LED, if you go to an amazing immersive experience, our platform's behind it. Our platform is an integrated hardware and software solution, and it enables creators, creatives, visionary directors, and specialists of all this area to create these amazing visuals that you're seeing kind of playing out here. We are in this amazing era of visual experience. Things have got bigger. This is an amazing experience at the Dubai Expo. The canvases are getting larger. The opportunities to wow audiences and to immerse them and engage them have got, unbelievably massive. And our hardware is at the heart of it, and the software brings it all together across a range of different activities across the media entertainment sector. So it's a range of hardware and software, like I said, and it really is this platform to enable creators and artists to really sort of dream big and create these incredibly immersive experiences. Virtual production is the other sort of big area of that as well, and that's what sort of kicked off in more recent times for us, but a huge opportunity to create the next generation of kind of content, allow filmmakers to tell even more amazing stories.
So you talked about that virtual part of the business. How does very immersive and interactive experience, as we saw from those images. So how does generative AI feature in what you do now?
Well, a big thing I touched upon is the content. So you see these huge screens everywhere, the backstage of Taylor Swift's or Beyonce's concert, or this amazing one in the Sphere. Putting the content and creating compelling content is very costly, very timely. And in virtual production, the same thing. A lot of people are using real-time 3D engines, which are great, but it takes time and it takes a lot of money and effort. And a lot of the time, we're recreating reality. We're scanning something or we're making a street scene or something like that. What's amazing about generative AI and some of these techniques around, they're called NERFs, or there's a technique called Gaussian splatting, all using these amazing models, and it's cutting down the time for creating photorealistic content massively. And so it's just shortcutting a sort of a task, which is certainly when you're recreating reality is just, we just want to make it look exactly as it should. These tools are really enabling, much more content to be created at much higher quality eventually in a shorter amount of time.
So Alex, what kind of creative jobs exist in this space?
Well, there's a lot of push for real-time content creators, and there's a whole range of people because it's 3D animation. So you've got, lighting designers and textures, designers, and all sorts. But I think what we're seeing now with these tools is that, creative directors or directors, DPs, can have this, can create things in a way that they couldn't before, because they'd have to work with a huge, visual effects team. So within the visual effects world, I think there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of challenges as well, because some of the challenges there are, it's a big disruptive piece of technology that will, change certain skills and require new ones and roles. But it's fantastic because, there's a huge opportunity for content creators, from producers to designers and visual artists, and they now suddenly have access to an amazing sort of tool set.
Does generative AI also offer an opportunity to create more indirect jobs in this creative economy?
Well, yeah, what's really interesting and something we're using on our platform is the ability for, you saw a bit of ChatGPT, to write code, to do complex coding and to do complex interactive or engineering tasks. For a person that either has no or low code experience, that's amazing, because the world is only getting more complicated from a technology point of view and a creative technology point of view. And you're seeing these amazing shows and experiences that we're doing. Often you require so many different types of skills. Well, lots of people can be a bit more multi-threaded now, because they can access, vast tranches of data and code, and they can use these tools to create and code very, very complex experiences without any of that, trained experience. So I think that's going to just allow a lot more opportunities for creative people to do more technological things, and vice versa, technological people to do more creative things. So I think it's just allowing more of a sort of varied tool set, which used to be this team can only do that and that team can only do that, and then we'll have to collaborate. And there's going to be more opportunity for a richer skill set to be at the fingertips of each individual, which is important because it is getting more complicated. It isn't as simple as just let's create a piece of content, it's linear and it plays out on a loop on a screen. It's much more complicated now. You have to have it interactive, you have to make it more immersive, and these tools will help deliver these amazing experiences and visual experiences.
So what skills should young people be focusing on learning to succeed work-wise in this?
Well, I mean, there are some still wonderful soft skills like, imagination and ideas. You still need to know what to put into the prompt. You still need to know, understand sort of how to dream big, how to imagine something. IP is still incredibly valuable. Creating characters or stories is all, yes, these tools can help inform and bring amazing reference and then the execution part, but you still need that. So I think it's still to be, hugely just take in as many influences and insights as possible. And actually these tools can help that, because you've suddenly got at your fingertips the most amazing array of visual materials or code or everything in between, from sound, as we've heard. And so you can able to feed yourself with such an amazing, rich array of materials. And then in terms of the actual skills, to have a mix of creativity and technology. I think we're seeing this sort of merging more and more than we've ever seen before. And so I think before we were looking at either go down one route or the other. I think it's really important to sort of feel like there's an opportunity to be, creative and have a deep understanding of tech, and again the other way around. So I think it's to be, you've got to be kind of multi-threaded to a certain extent. Choose certain disciplines that you love, for example, if it's sound or if it's video or if it's photographic, and be curious, and be really, really sort of curious with, we're kind of at the sort of not playing around phase. It does a bit more than that now, but we're in the early kind of phases. We don't really know exactly. It's kind of the early days of iPhone, where there was a lot of sort of gimmick apps and things like that, and then it transformed, the way we use our, wallets, the way we take photos, and disrupted a huge amount. So we're kind of at that stage now. So it's curiosity, looking at the industries that are already doing stuff and understanding that a lot's going to change, but just looking at the base elements of those industries and using that to decode. Well, they're still core. They're still not going to change. How to tell a story, how to put on a great live show, how to make an amazing immersive experience. They're going to remain. It's just the amazing tools to deliver these are going to be completely transformed. So I think it's doing a bit of both, making sure that you're really up to date and at the forefront of this technological change, but still remain, understanding that some of the core principles of storytelling and immersive design don't change. They just get enhanced by these new tools.
Fantastic info there, Alex. Just share with us, if you could, how did you end up being Chief Experience Officer?
Well, interesting enough, my grandfather was a film director, and I was always amazed by special effects. Ray Harryhausen and the stop motion of those early days. And when computers started coming in to do special effects, it was around the time of sort of Terminator 2, Industrial Light and Magic, creating Jurassic Park, those things. And that was early days, but it was about this melding of creativity and technology, and it just inspired me to get into this. And I went through a few different twistings of turns, went into sort of design agencies, visual effects, and sort of found my way to Disguise. But it's always been around that mix of creativity and technology, art and technology sort of playing off against each other to create impossible things, to make amazing experiences or visual materials that weren't possible before, to engage audiences. And so that's kind of been the thread that's run through, even though it's gone through a few different tracks in the journey.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing all that with us. So let's find out now what role development organizations can play to help ensure that young workers can thrive in this rapidly changing environment. Joining us now from Washington, D.C. is Fatima Javed. She's the Global Sector Lead for Media Investments in the International Finance Corporation's Telecoms, Media, and Technology team. Fatima, you are at the front and center of IFC's engagement in the creative sector and the creative industries. Why is the creative sector a focus for IFC?
Hi, Jax. Thank you for inviting me to this great panel. I've been hearing great stories from different people across the industry, very inspiring. So, these are the kind of clients that we want and we are dealing with already. So just to give you a little bit of background on why IFC started into this space. So you know that creative industries is one of the fastest growing sectors in the world economy. In 2022, the creative industry sector was valued at $2.6 trillion, and it's expected to reach to $3.4 trillion in the next 5 years. So there's a huge growth in this sector, which gives a lot of market opportunity to any financial institution or to any developmental financial institution. IFC, being part of the World Bank Group, is heavily focused on development, and we see that the creative industries promise a huge development impact. The multiplier effect of creative industries is about 2.5 times, which means that for every $1 spent in creative industries, the economic impact is $2.5. So that is huge. And it's not just the direct impact on job creation, it's also indirect impact. I'll give you a quick example. For example, there is a movie production in a city. Not only does it impact the economics of that particular city in that movie making, but also the additional sectors, including tourism, infrastructure, travel. So all of that combined creates a huge development impact, and that's what we are trying to maximize through our investments. The creative economy and the creative economy sector is also the highest employer of youth between 15 and 30 years. And they represent, so where creative economies are highly developed, they represent 2 to 7% of GDP. So the entire developmental angle is huge for IFC to look into. You must have seen articles on the impact of Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and Barbieheimer economy on the U.S. It added 8.5 billion to the U.S. economy. That's Hollywood, right? Our focus is on the emerging markets. So where are the emerging markets going in terms of really capitalizing the impact of creative sector? And the emerging markets is interesting because they have the highest youth population. 70% of Africa's population is under the age of 30. So there's a huge potential there. We're seeing a lot of economic activity in the creative sectors in these emerging markets, and we really want to help them grow. We want to help them access capital, access international market, and really come up the curve. The governments are increasingly noticing the impact of creative sector. They're introducing tax incentives. So the tax incentives, etc., are already there in the developed markets. And now the developing countries are also seeing the impact and introducing these schemes to really drive the creative sector. The other thing is that all of this, again, aligns with our SDGs, poverty reduction, gender equality, economic growth, and many other SDGs. So all of that combined gives us a reason to invest in this sector.
So, Fatima, what are some of IFC's current and upcoming plans for the creative sector, and how do these plans support job creation?
So as I said, job creation is a huge element of creative industry. It's a human-intensive sector, so not just direct jobs, but indirect jobs as well as upskilling. So when you're talking about generative AI and technology, that's not just creation of jobs, but creation of capacity building and upskilling. So all of that is within the creative industries that we're trying to support. IFC started looking at this sector about 18 months to 24 months ago. Our CEO, Maktar Dio, championed this working group and asked us to look into what IFC can do in this sector, because we traditionally do large infrastructure projects, manufacturing projects, and partnerships with financial institutions. So we were like, okay, this is where there's huge development impact, there's huge potential. What can IFC do? So we gave it a lot of thought, a lot of initial work went into prioritizing which subsectors we can look at from both a developmental standpoint and a reputational angle. For example, news and free-to-air television and broadcasting are not really part of our focus because we don't want to be perceived as influencing public opinion. So we identified three to four verticals that we can look at, that we can invest in. First is the audiovisual media. So this includes the full value chain of production of content, from studio infrastructure to production of content to post-production, to the technology angle, which is, your visual effects, your animation, so the entire value chain within film, music, virtual reality, sports and entertainment. So that's our first vertical. What we were looking at various investments in the emerging markets. We have closed a few as well. One of the most prominent investments that we closed was a debt facility to a leading visual effects company called DNEC in India that employs more than 9,000 people, and 70% of their workforce is in India. So our facility will be used to upskill these workers, to get more youth into the employment bucket within the company and invest in their technology. The second vertical is fashion, which is manufacturing of apparel, footwear with a design element to it, as well as e-commerce and marketplace for artisans in fashion and designing school. We closed one deal here. We extended a debt facility to Khadi in Pakistan, which is a top fashion retailer, and it promotes gender equality and supports the country's textile sectors and exports. There's a huge design element, there's a huge export element of in this project. Thirdly, we are looking at creator economy and disruptive tech. So these are technologies and platforms that help creators to create content, to grow their audience, and most importantly, to monetize the content. So think about it as the Instagrams and the TikToks of the world. The ultimate goal is for these small creators to become self-sufficient in terms of monetizing their content. We closed one deal here, which is called Kuku FM in India, which is, again, India's largest vernacular podcasting platform that offers non-music regional audio content in the form of small episodics and original series. So all of this is creating a lot of jobs. I would also like to mention another project that we closed, which is very interesting from a job creation standpoint and empowering the creator standpoint. This is Anka in Cote d'Ivoire, which is an e-commerce marketplace for African artists, which are mostly SMEs that are selling clothing, jewelry, and accessories that are made in Africa. 80% of their sales force are women. So as you would notice, in all of our investments, there's a huge angle on job creation for youth and women. In terms of other verticals, these are the three key verticals. And then there's an overarching vertical where we are financing creatives through other financial institutions. So IFC has partnerships, and IFC lends to other financial institutions that are supporting the creative industry. Then we recently closed a deal in Brazil, lending to Bradesco Bank, which will on-lend to small creative industries, SMEs. So that's in terms of the verticals we have. We are also very actively partnering with large global companies. We signed a cooperation agreement with Sony recently. Sony has created an innovation fund to fund very early stage creative tech companies. So all of that is happening with the key objective to empower the creators in the space.
A lot going on, Fatima.
A lot going on.
Thank you so much for sharing all that with us and that vital work that IC is doing to help boost the creative economy. I think we have time to squeeze in one question from our audience. This is from Alicia Hammond to Thomas. Wow, this raises the issue of the vulnerability of youth in the creative sectors if a computer can rap easily now. So what are the skills youth need to develop to better prepare them for these changes in the sector? Thomas?
Yes. I mean, I think it's been mentioned already, like flexibility to kind of like experiment with these new technologies, try the tools that are out there. Your skills of curation will become more and more important. So maybe you can automate certain parts of your kind of artistic process, but you're still kind of responsible for the results. And I guess the thoughts you put behind the process become more important because you can automate certain parts of the process.
Okay, and I'm going to squeeze in another one here. Does anybody want to add to that? Alex? Anyone else who's with us? I don't know if anyone else is with us. Here's a question from Eric Cooper for you, Alex. I have found inspirational that generative AI has perhaps the biggest opportunity to improve quality of young people's work. On the flip side, I'm really worried about the hollowing out of early career jobs so that we no longer have a pipeline to more senior roles. Any thoughts on that, Alex?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think a lot of people are kind of seeing the early examples right now as almost being kind of interns. They're good supports for sort of more senior kind of creators and designers. I think it is a concern, and I think it's a watch out, and it's exacerbated sometimes by remote working as well, where people aren't having that kind of in-person, mentoring and sort of career guidance as well. I do think I kind of like lean back to like some of the inherent skills needed are still there, even if like, again, I'm not sure if we're going to have a generation of prompt engineers or text prompters, but like, we need people to have those ideas to how to input. So if you're going into design, you need to still understand design. You need to still understand, the tenets of it, the history of it, because otherwise, even if you've got all these tools at your fingertips, you won't know where to go or you won't know where to look at. And so I think you still need to be schooled in it, because even though everything will be finally kind of assimilated and at your fingertips, what are you going to say? What are you going to drive? What do you want to create? What do you want to build out of it? Even though the creation part will be radically changed. But again, I love the sort of, the connection to like the introduction of photography, where they thought that would destroy fine art. It didn't. It is another tool and we'll be able to create other things, but you still need the same basic skills behind it. You still need great ideas and great understanding of creativity, I believe. So I think I think, yeah, it's a watch out for sure. So I don't want to dismiss the question. It's important because I think some people might, move out of that, but I think there's still huge opportunities for people to come through and still retain some of those, learn those base core skills that are needed in creativity.
Brilliant. Thank you all so very much indeed. Now it is time to reveal our jointly created generative AI artscape. Let's see if we can pull that up for you. Ta-da! There you have it. It's beautiful, vibrant colors, and it's moving and shifting. And so I think it's an evolving image, as we can see. So this artscape, as I said earlier, was created using Thomas's Dream Machine AI application. So here we are experiencing the creative power of generative AI to create new artistic content. Wow. So as Thomas said, generative AI gives us really quick, nearly instant, well, he told me this earlier anyway, instant tangible results, turning our thoughts and ideas into these colorful, rich images. If you look on Slido to the right of your screen, we have the link there for this artscape that we've created, and we get to keep it as a memento of our session today. It's beautiful, I think. Now, I hope you are feeling inspired, excited by all the ideas and many perspectives shared with us today. There are clearly so many positive possibilities for generative AI to be used in the creative economy. Thank you again to all our fabulous speakers. And coming up next in the summit, we have a Spark session for you with innovative solutions on how to skill youth outside formal education. To watch that, you just have to go back to the agenda page and click on that session link. May the summit be productive and very helpful for you. Thanks very much for tuning in. From me, it's goodbye.